Thank you, Kirti ji, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope I'm audible to the last one. Thank you, Paresh. So it was not 24 days, it's actually 24 years. So Kirti has now a language, and so he has to be excused now. So it's good that we take charge collectively. This group, this entire audience will take charge of this session. And I must start by kind of complimenting the first session, which has clearly given us some very good uh, takeaways. And I believe the discussion with all the panelists here in the last couple of days have given us a very clear understanding of what we want to do. What I briefly introduced to you is the fact that across the domains and across the sectors where we see ourselves doing something on inclusion, this panel really has an amazing diversity. So if I were to start from the first go, if you look at Ramesh, who comes from BRAC International, I will also take this opportunity to welcome Ramesh to be on the dais, please. So he's first panelist. He is India Program Officer from BRAC International, known basically for pioneering the graduation approach. So he will be one who will talk about. So yes, so cut across graduation approach, look at targeting poverty, look at how ultra poor, the nomenclature which has been used very substantially in the last so many years. So he will be sharing his perspectives, organization perspective, and also certain things which we all can take away. So thank you, Ramesh, for gracing this occasion today. Second, I would request Dr. Supreet, if you can kindly come up. She represents GAIN, and GAIN में भी very specifically कि policy programs and external relationships पे बात relations पे इनका दारोमदार है. तो she comes from a perspective where GAIN has very clearly adopted and worked around food system transformation agenda, right, Supreet ji? सो फूड सिस्टम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के अंतर्गत इंक्लूजन को किस तरीके से इन्होंने लाया है विद राइडर, जो हम कह रहे हैं कि इनोवेशन एज अ मीन्स टू काइंड ऑफ गेटिंग इनटू इंक्लूजन. सो ऐसी कौन सी 4-5 चीज़ें हैं वो हम इनसे समझेंगे कि इन्होंने क्या गेम के द्वारा किया और हमारे लिए क्या टेक अवे है. सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ग्रेसिंग टुडे. एंड वी हैव रीना जी. रीना जी, आर यू देयर? यस. Reena ji is Executive Director of HEFOR India. Thank you so much, Reena ji. I think HEFOR's work is largely known to all of us, but the fact remains that talking about vulnerability, talking about vulnerable sections, which we now find, they are one of those organizations which have not only mastered that, but also created right interventions at that level. So, passing the gift, पूरी स्टोरी आपको पता है तो भी मैं नहीं बताऊंगा, वो रीना जी बताएंगे कि पासिंग द गिफ्ट हो, चाहे कॉर्नर स्टोन हो, चाहे आइडेंटिफिकेशन का प्रोसेस हो, व्हाट इज दैट दे डू कि इतने सालों से जो है इस टारगेट ग्रुप के साथ में बहुत ही रिलायबली और सस्टेनेबली काम कर पा रहे हैं. वहाँ फोर्थ अभी मैं एक्चुअली कंटेस्टेंट प्रोजेक्ट कर रहा हूँ तो बार बार इस जुबान पे कंटेस्टेंट आ जाता है. आई एम सॉरी फॉर दैट. लेकिन अभी चौथे जो हमारे पैनलिस्ट हैं, दीपक जी, आर यू देयर? Yes. So Deepak ji is from GIZ India, and he has been advising GIZ on one of the most important projects, I would say, not because we were involved with them, but I think it is more contemporary क्योंकि वो agroecology पे based है पूरा project. So he is advisor to GIZ in both NRM and agroecology. He will be also taking us through his entire experience of a couple of projects, particularly Jiva, where landscape approach has been kind of looked at in a manner to see that inclusion is always the center bed for the interventions which you design and take up. तो दैट्स फोर्थ. पांचवा पैनलिस्ट कौन है यहाँ? तो अमोद भाई को बताना चाहिए. अमोद भाई को तो कोई इनविटेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं होनी चाहिए, लेकिन अमोद भाई भी चाह रहे हैं कि मैं करूं. सो अमोद जी नमस्कार, आइए. यस. तो अब ये देखिए मेरी तरफ से ये पहले, लेकिन उन्होंने भी पहल कर दी. सो दिस इज अ ट्रू स्पिरिट कि दोनों को, मेरे ख्याल से सुब्रत भाई सुबह सुबह जो बोले कि उनको स्टेक होल्डर ग्रुप में देखना पड़ेगा, तो हम सब है. पर अमोद भाई इज अ वेरी डियर फ्रेंड एंड मोर देन दैट एन अमेजिंग माइंड टू लुक इनटू सोशल स्पेस. I think the way he decodes the entire milieu of what basically goes beyond interventions and look from a perspective of human psyche. So I think we are very blessed to have this panel, and of course equally blessed to have this audience. माई एंटायर रिक्वेस्ट वुड बी थोड़ा सा है कि अपने लैपटॉप्स वगैरह आप छोड़ दीजिए, ये 1.5 घंटा कैसे निकल जाएगा हमें पता नहीं चलने वाला है. सो माई अर्नेस्ट रिक्वेस्ट इज कि आप 15 मिनट लास्ट के क्वेश्चन आंसर्स विल बी मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ फ्लो वी वुड लाइक टू टेक. सो विदाउट मच अडू आई थिंक वी स्टार्ट विद दिस. पैनलिस्ट चले. सो मैं शुरू उसी से करता हूँ. So what we do is basically having two rounds. I think first discussion जो था वो बहुत पहला वाला discussion था, उसमें हम सब ने इकट्ठा जो बात करी. यहाँ कोशिश करेंगे 2 rounds में इसको डेवलप करने के लिए. तो पहला राउंड बेसिकली यही है कि if we have to start with, as an organization, each of your respective organizations, what is the mandate, whatever approach you have taken to include inclusion in your entire thought process, as to why this becomes very important for your organization. What is at stake? Then we go down to different other aspects of it. But आप जो काम कर रहे हैं उसमें inclusion किस तरीके से इसमें embedded है, and why is that burning need जो कि इस organization को, आपकी respective organizations को इस पे काम करना है. So if Amuj, if you wish to start.
Thank you, Ashwini, and thanks Ecoshate for organizing this. I think this is a topic which demanded attention for a long time, and glad that inclusion is getting included now. Having said that, I have been in transitioning in my roles, so I'll speak for both roles. Currently, I'm working in IP Global, and IP Global, we are looking at inclusion in all our field projects. There are 2 questions. Why do we need to look at inclusion, and how we are looking at it? So why is the easiest answer? Because everybody is not getting the benefit that they deserve and desire. So once we have this as an acceptance, then the question is, who are these people and how can we reach them? And how can we reach them is what happens when we reach them. So I'll just take an example to become much more clearer. We are implementing a project in Rajasthan. This was on maternal and child nutrition. So when we scanned, we said, which is the community which is the most left out? We came around tribals. So the project is on tribal areas. So one layering, yes, we are working with one of the left out communities. Second is
flagship schemes, watershed and TDF, and around 2.8 million hectare have been basically covered under watershed and TDF program through 4,000 projects. But although there are many successes of watershed and tribal development program in terms of natural resource management and in terms of soil and water conservation, however, considering the recent challenges in terms of climate change, in terms of biodiversity loss, in terms of economic issues with regards to small and marginal farmers, there is a need to design a new program. And Jiva is one of them. What is basically innovation is in this particular program? Over watershed and TDF, a layer of agroecology and natural farming has been added. So there are around 9 components in this particular program. One is crop diversification, intensification, soil regeneration, integrating nutrition garden, integrating animal husbandry within the system. So likewise, there are 9 components. And how it is inclusive? It is inclusive in 3 ways. First is basically it is being implemented in vulnerable region like rain-fed and tribal dominated area. So geography wise inclusion. I'm not considering only stakeholder wise inclusion, but geography wise inclusion, including vulnerable area, is one kind of inclusion. Second kind of inclusion is the target group. Here in almost all projects, the target group is small and marginal farmer, women and youth. Specifically, how to enhance basically sustainable livelihood for small and marginal farmer. Third, basically inclusion is basically kind of activities. I have mentioned 9 component in Jiva program. That is basically I have already mentioned soil regeneration, farmer-led extension, nutrition garden. So considering different kind of activities to design a projects, that is the inclusion of both primary and secondary activities within a food system. So that is also another kind of inclusion. So that's why I think it's a very innovative program. I will talk more maybe in the second round of discussion. So there are around 24 projects in Jiva, and they are basically operational in 11 states. So maybe in later stage I will talk more. Yeah.
So at Hafer India, we currently work with more than 120,000 plus smallholder farmers. And the target segment that we work with and the farmers that we work with, what drives us in terms of choosing or identifying the geographies that we work, because at Hafer, we believe very strongly, and this is our global policy as well, that we believe that each person has limitless potential. They are where they are because of whatever reasons they are born into a family, etc. But that doesn't constrain them to stay there. So our approach is, how do we go and identify the people who are most marginalized? So we all know that smallholder farmers, somebody was sharing statistics, and we all know 86% of the farmers in India are smallholder farmers. But we also recognize that when I speak to you about farmers, and if I'll ask any one of you to draw an image, you're going to draw an image of a male farmer. But we see that women do the majority of work on farms, but still they are not recognized as farmers. So in our program, we deliberately work with 100% women farmers. Then we also work and identify and work with the most marginalized, economically marginalized population, especially working with the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population that we work with. So when we were doing our project in Bihar, and that's where we partnered with University in Arkansas, and we partnered with EcoCiet. And this is a program which is known as Bihar Sustainable Livelihood Program. And in that program, we identified, first of all, we identified Bihar as the place. And in Bihar, we identified 6 districts, the districts which were the most, marginalized districts. And this was the challenge that we took, because we said that even if we are able to make a small dent there, that will be a big thing for our end. So what drives in terms of choosing these people and the approaches that we take, because we at Hafer believe that the solutions to the problems lie with the community themselves. So we have some processes which we do with the community, and we have a model which is known as a household transformation model, through which when we start our program, we start the measurement, and then we continue to look at as we move forward. But inclusion in terms of, when we are working with Bihar, we are working with the Musar community. We are working with people, those who are not even literate, and we then identify this along with the partners, and we have our social transformation model with which we take them through a journey. And that is when we were talking about in the earlier session, where we are talking about social capital. Once that bed is ready in terms of the soil bed, whatever you're going to sow on that soil bed is going to flower and bloom. So that's our approach that we take. And the approach to inclusion is a global philosophy that we have. And here also in India, when we are working in 3 states, and the example that I'm giving of Bihar, it's an integral part.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you, EcoShare, for having me here. So I from GAIN, we are working in India since 2003, and our presence is across 14 states. And while we work at GAIN, we follow a coherent inclusive policy where on one side we we take very stringent steps to make our policies internally, but at the same side we work very closely with the government stakeholders, with policymakers, with think tanks, with academics. Along with, we have a very robust public private partnerships across the country. As Ashwini mentioned in the beginning while introducing me, that we work a lot with food system transformations and how to make the approaches more scalable. I'll just take a minute to just explain, because food system is a term which is very fluidic and people just plug and play with it as per their convenience. So just very briefly, if I can explain, food systems basically has a comprehensive approach which comprises of major four buckets, if we call it linearly. One is like consumer behavior, supply chains, environment, and how individual factors are affecting to the diets which you and I are consuming daily. So this is the linear model. It looks very simple, but these are actually influenced by the external drivers, which are very fluidic and very influential in nature. They can be social cultural contexts, they can be urbanizations, environment effects, climate, the wars which are going on, our individual preferences, and so on and so forth. So it's very essential not to move with a single piece or a single approach if we want to make a dent in food system space. So we at GAIN take a zoom out type of approach and work with a complete food system as an approach, so that the transformation can be made in a positive way. While doing so, we always keep inclusion and the innovation in mind. We have various programs designed around it. We are known for our staple food fortification in edible oil, milk, and wheat flour. In that area, we work very closely with both with public-private partnerships and government at the same end. So that gives us inclusiveness of that, and breaking the taboo that public and the private partnerships are only for profit making. But now, if we can see, all the burden of fortification of oil and milk are borne by the private industries. So we have make the capacity, we build the capacity of those industries to come up and take up that cost, so that micronutrient deficiency can be taken care of. Other very interesting program which we are working is workforce nutrition, which actually talks about working with the workers, with the smallholder farmers who actually need the for them the nutritious food is not at all accessible when we started our work. But through our journey over the years, now we have strengthening the supply chain. We have made availability of nutritious food at their doorsteps, and along with that, the awareness generation activities amongst those workers have actually increased the demand of nutritious food and strengthening the complete supply chain. Another very interesting piece is around climate and nutrition integration, which we are working on. We are working to review the policies and programs which are actually happening across the country for integrating climate and nutrition work in India, and how that work actually affecting the smallholder farmer or the last mile person, if we are making a pathway which is strong enough to include both climate and nutrition policy at a same platform. So these are few of the examples. I have more to share, but I think I'll keep some of them for my next round.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ashwini, and thank you, EcoSet, for inviting me. So I'm actually representing two roles here. One with BRAC International as their India Program Officer. Second, in my personal capacity as a former turned into development professional. That is also important because whenever I speak, I try to represent what they go through, like a program participant point of view. So coming to the what BRAC does in India, like Ashwini was explaining, BRAC works on graduation approach. Whenever we think graduation, people say BRAC's graduation program. The idea why we are in India is to ensure that the graduation approach could not become a BRAC's approach. It should be more like a public good, where wherever we feel this an approach could be used for the people who have been excluded, even in the mainstream NGOs or even the government initiatives, that could be used. I think that's the primary purpose why BRAC International is there in India. And second, while explaining that, when we say excluded, who are these? Like, we are using this words like ultra poor, extreme poor, vulnerable, marginalized. I think somewhere we have to understand the nuances of these words. Then only we would be able to even think about an approach itself. So I think this is why, and it's important to understand this one, even during the discussions in the morning or even now it is coming that we think about the small and marginal farmers. There is also a segment of people who don't have any lands at all. So there are landless people who are there in villages who currently doesn't have any other livelihood source. Is the approaches that we think works for them? Are there is some kind of a program that we need to decide? We need to design to specifically target their vulnerabilities and their needs. I think that's one layer that I want to bring. Second one, even we are discussing in the morning as well that through NRLM and through SRLMs, we are able to reach around 10 crores of people now. So that's even in most of the states, they're able to saturate them as well. But even in those villages where we are thinking about saturation, there are certain set of people who are excluded, who are not coming into even those community institutions or collectives that we are thinking about it. So what is the kind of an approach or interventions that we need to take up to address the vulnerabilities and needs of those people so that they can come to the mainstream civil society or government initiatives so that they can benefit from these programs? I think this is the target group with which we are predominantly working. But when it comes to our work in India, we are not at least forcing direct implementation in India in near future. We wanted to work with governments, NRLMs, SRLMs, state governments, and civil societies to target these segments, to promise to reach these segments or these target groups through a graduation approach. In India, we are calling it like an inclusive livelihoods approach. Maybe I don't know how many of you already aware of a graduation approach. I can little bit explain a graduation approach itself. So I think one sentence which we normally hear, which everyone knows, is that we say poverty is multidimensional. So which is, I think, which I don't need to explain because everyone knows. Which also means that poverty, when we think about poverty, it's not only about the economics or income terms. There are other vulnerabilities that comes with that. If we are thinking about any approach, we have to think to address all these vulnerabilities they are facing, be it lower confidence or be it like the kind of a accidental poor that happened because some kind of a health or accident happened in this household, they move to the extreme poor. Or we think about the generations of poor that comes up because of there is a discrimination or exclusion happened at a village level, or because they belong to particular caste, they are doing particular livelihoods. So those kind of nuances, unless we understand those nuances, we can't address. I think the graduation actually deals with that. To understand this multidimensional nature of poverty or extreme poor, and then to address this through a sequenced set of interventions which are time bound over a period of 24 to 36 months. That's in general to say about. Let me explain what is that approach itself. Again, why the first thing, even when we think of the approach itself, is that this is adapt to as per the context which are working, as per the target groups we are working, which is like if you're working for a rural poor, a rural extreme poor, then the approach itself is completely different. If you're thinking about urban poor, then the approach or interventions will change. So that's the main, like I would say, the layer that we need to think when we are thinking about graduation approach. In terms of approach, there are 4 pillars of interventions that normally happen. One is the social protection, where we see that on which are the basis these people are excluded. Can we connect them? Like, for example, if they're excluded from the government documentations and schemes, can we reach to them and can we support them to access those schemes and like entitlements? So that's the first step. Along with this, there are 2 other layers of support goes during that time. If even the accessing government support is not sufficient to them, then there is a component called consumption support that would be helpful for them to meet the basic needs and entitlements. The second one, even before promoting livelihoods, what we realize that they lack that confidence, or we say they're not willing to take the loan, they're not willing to participate in the program. So that's why we take up something like an aspirational confidence building. So that exercise happens over a period of 3 to 6 months, even before we thinking about the livelihoods as well. Second comes the livelihood promotion. So after the aspirational promotion, the livelihood promotion mostly graduation supports to provide them a productive asset in the form of grant to them. Because what we realized when we started working with SRLMs, or when the government started working with SRLMs for targeting these households, we realized that loan may not be an option that works out for these people. So that's the reason they came up with this productive asset transfers to them, along coupled with this skills training, which happens over the period until they graduate from extreme poverty to a poor. And the third one is once they started doing this kind of a livelihood or promotion activities, then they will encourage the financial inclusion, financial literacy and saving component. And finally, the social empowerment component, because all this intervention that we are doing is to make them included in the community institutions, social structure that we are thinking about, so that they have a sustainable pathway to growth or prosperity. So all these 4 pillars have been supported by most important thing that's called in-person coaching and handholding, because what they needed most is not these interventions, someone to say that ki, I'm there for you. Like if your business is not going well, I'm there to fill in that confidence. I think the personal connect or coaching plays a huge role in this system. So I think that's what we are planning to do. Again, this is for every state and every target group and every community that would be working, which would be customizable. So in general, when it comes to BRAC's work in India, as I mentioned earlier, we are not here to directly implement. We are here to support governments and civil society organizations to mainstream this approach so that we could reach the scale. Because the idea why BRAC realized this is that key small, because whenever we are taking of inclusion activities, mostly we will be taking a small initiatives like that. Small is actually beautiful where we could go and include them. But what is essential now is big is essential, because there are a lot of such people are still excluded in a lot of other pockets. Until unless we collaborate with governments or someone who is already working on this sector, it's difficult to reach that scale. I think that's why we are here in India. So thank you.
Very comprehensive. Thank you, panelists. I think what we also what we also intend to understand from you, and it has given us a lot of insights as to why you do this work and how you do this work. But simplistically, if the forum wishes to engage in that, I would invite any of you to kind of pose questions right now as well. But to an extent, that what is that we are doing differently? So we have identified a problem. That's what you very clearly have articulated. You have found out the right target group, maybe through a very, very rigorous process of identifying people based on the vulnerability. And then Deepak, what you very kindly and clearly said that it may be having a sub-layer जहाँ आप geography को देख रहे हैं, वो बहुत remote geography है, वहाँ जहाँ के काम किया, तो वो भी inclusion के अंदर आ गया. किसान हैं, सीमांत किसान हैं या ट्राइबल्स हैं या और भी इस तरीके के जो जिनको हम वल्नरेबल सेक्शंस बता रहे हैं, उनको हमने फोकस किया, तो वो भी इंक्लूजन की परिभाषा में आ गया. कुछ ऐसे क्रॉप्स है जिस पे काम नहीं हो रहा था लेकिन वो न्यूट्रिशियस है, उनको लेके आए, जो नुस्खी स्ट्रैटेजी लोग ला रहे हैं तो उसको कर लिया. तो ये बड़ी अच्छी लेयरिंग समझ में आ रही है कि ये सब चीज़ को लेते हैं तो ये, मगर इसमें हम डिफरेंट क्या कर रहे हैं. तो डिज़ाइन प्रोसेस में कुछ हम लोगों को समझाइए आप कि आप डिज़ाइन जब करते हैं इसको, तो प्रोसेस में आप क्या चीज़ को सोचते हैं या क्या आपने सोचा होगा इस प्रोजेक्ट के लिए. फर्स्ट लेयर ये है. सेकेंड लेयर ये है कि डिज़ाइन को जब आप प्रैक्टिसेस में और इंटरवेंशंस में कन्वर्ट करते हैं, तो ये तो हम सबको ही मालूम है कि चाहे कोई भी सेगमेंट हो, उसका एडॉप्शन होना ज़रूरी है. तो वो एडॉप्शन के ट्रिगर्स आप पकड़ते हैं, तो आपकी प्रैक्टिसेस और इंटरवेंशंस में किस तरीके का नवाचार रहता है कि नहीं रहता है. और वो नवाचार अगर हो गया, इनफैक्ट इनोवेशन अगर हो रहा है, वहाँ कर रहे हैं, देन द थर्ड एलिमेंट इज कि ये एडॉप्शन के बाद में किसान उसको अगर इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहा है या जो भी सेगमेंट आपने पकड़ा वो इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहा है, तो उसका मॉनिटरिंग और मेजरमेंट हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है ना. हो तो रहा है, लेकिन हम ये समझना चाह रहे हैं आपसे कि जब इनोवेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, जो मेरे ख्याल से आप सबसे हमारी बातचीत में ये आया था कि इफ ए प्रॉब्लम विच हैज बीन लेफ्ट अनअटेंडेड फॉर लॉन्ग एंड वी वर्क ऑन दैट, दैट्स अमेजिंग वर्क वी डू. मगर उसमें द थिन लाइन इज कि आर वी काइंड ऑफ लुकिंग एट सम इनोवेशन आउट देयर. सो इनोवेशन को आप किस तरीके से बताना चाहेंगे? बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ लुकिंग एट द डिजाइन प्रोसेसेस, बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ लुकिंग एट द प्रैक्टिसेस एंड interventions, and also the fact that what adoption triggers you have identified, you have worked so very well, and therefore the entire monitoring and measurement which will help you to possibly see कि impact story तक हम पहुंच रहे हैं. मैंने थोड़ा लंबा बोल दिया, लेकिन आई थिंक आप सब काफ़ी माहिर हैं और हमारी एक दो राय बात हो चुकी है. तो मैं चाहूँगा कि इस पे जो है आप थोड़ा सा आलोक प्रकाश करें. अमो जी.
Thank you, Darshan. That's quite a lot that you are asking in a very short time. So, but we'll try to, I think on the whole, we'll be able to give parts to it. I'll say the first thing that starts is how do you perceive the issue? I'll give examples. With Ramesh, we were doing a study on ultra poor, in particularly vulnerable tribal groups in Madhya Pradesh, Begas and Sahariyas. So the idea was, what is the parameter for identifying an ultra poor? That was a very objective, and how do we reach them? So as we went about doing stakeholder consultations, especially with NRLM and SRLM and government and everybody, we constantly heard one statement from everybody. थोड़ा शब्द इधर उधर होता था, बट अरे साहब ये तो बड़े कंटेंट है, इनको मोटिवेट नहीं कर सकते हम लोग. Now this whole idea कि ये particularly vulnerable tribal group संतुष्ट हैं was taken as a gospel truth by everybody. So much so that initially हमने भी कहा ये क्या हो रहा है. But then when we went out and when we said no, this is a bias that is getting created, let's keep it on one side. We don't take that they are content. And when we went out and started generating information, we found There's nothing like that. And there was concrete evidence to us to say, okay, no, they are not content. They want things to improve for themselves. But what is it that they want to improve themselves is what not the government is listening, or not what the NRLM or SRLM was listening. So here we had a situation कि यहाँ एक voice है, पर यहाँ उसकी कोई सुनने वाला नहीं है, और जो यहाँ voice है वो ये कह रही है कि इनको तो ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. So breaking that perspective was the first step that we went about. And once we did that, and we then came about and we went to the community and did a lot of exercises of who do you think are the poorest among them. And there were other steps also. And the interesting one that I can share is that हम सब शब्द इस्तेमाल करते हैं गरीब. तो हमने कहा ये गरीब तो हमारा शब्द है. That's something that Anshu also said in the morning. Is our word. Somebody external going to the community. We said, why don't we first go to the community and find out what is it that they define as people who are not as well as their average is. We didn't use the word गरीब or weak or whatever it is. हमने कहा आपके यहाँ सबसे जो आपको लगता है जिसको सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है उसको आप क्या कहते हो. First getting down that word was important, and it took us some time, but once we got that word, which in case of beggars was अधीन, तो वो हमने कहा भाई अधीन कौन है. So immediately came a response. हमारे गांव में ये 4 परिवार अधीन है. क्यों है? These are the reasons. So this comes about. So the point that I am making is, come whatever way, we are external to the community. So it is our responsibility to ensure that we are creating a situation, we are creating a process which allows people to participate and engage in that process on their own terms. And that's where I think what Anshu said in the morning, I would reiterate it, is very important, because we need to have a different language. Another word that comes across is mainstreaming. So this mainstream kya hai? It's basically a dominant culture. And in a community, if I am saying mainstreaming, then everybody starts comparing, ye hamare jaise nahi hai, and I am the mainstream. So this dominant culture, when it predominates, it covers up and actually creates a vocabulary which is very exclusive, which is not inclusive. So conversely, we need to create a vocabulary which is based on equality and equity. I'm consciously using the two words equality and equity in a very conscious manner, that we need to target equity. If we cannot have inclusion till we have targeted equity. The difference between equality and equity, as I understand, is that equality is everyone should have a, सबको इस कमरे में जितने, let's give them a shoe. But equity is when I give them the shoe that fits them. How do I find the shoe that fits you? Is when I go to you, आपका नाप लूंगा, आपका shoe लाऊंगा, and then that is what we need to target in. And also another thing is that inclusion is not an activity. It's an outcome of a lot of things that you do. So it's not a part of your activity कि ठीक है मैंने महिला से बात कर ली, मैं शेड्यूल कास्ट के घर चला गया, मैंने शेड्यूल ट्राइब के साथ उसको include कर लिया. That is not inclusion. Inclusion happens after you have done this. Am I then able to, is that those people who I had assumed were not part of the, were not what were the excluded community or excluded groups, have they got included, and do they feel included? It's that feeling of inclusion that is more important. And that's where the issue of dignity, as somebody brought in the panel in the morning, is very, very important. So part of the answer, there are others.
I agree, but I would love to kind of take your perspective on the fact that there are certain responses which you bring from the shocks which you have seen communities trying to face, or maybe they will be facing, right? So predominantly हम सब देख रहे हैं कि climate का shock एक दिखाई दे, ये climate change से shock आएगा, या social exclusion के कारण जो उस परिवार पर shock आ रहा है, right? So I would love you to take a couple of more minutes, but educate us and share your experience कि जब ये दोनों चीजें हैं जो कि बड़ी apparently या बड़ी clearly contemporary issues में आ रही है, social exclusion को कैसे जाना ये आपने थोड़ा समझाया, लेकिन जो ये climate का shock या climate change से जो shock मिलने वाला है, उसमें किस तरीके की practice intervention और उसमें नवाचार का शुमार कैसे हो रहा है?
I would say the work that I'm presently doing is, and actually I don't have a ready answer, but I'm also exploring.
Yes,
I'm also exploring. I'm trying to construct something there. You see, the issue is we want resilience. We want resilience from climate change or climate shocks or whatever we call it. But how do I know that resilience has happened? What is my indicator which tells me that this community is more or better resilient than they were earlier? So getting out to identify those, we came around to 3 very basic indicators. And one of this, does the community has, or the area that they're working is, has diversity in it? It could be not only biodiversity, it could be diversity of livelihoods, it could be diversity of skills. The more diversity is, the more likelihood of resilience is happening. Why I'm saying that? Because the more diversity you have, the more interdependence you have. And the more interdependence you have, the more people there are who can lift you up. Even without external help, there are people who can help you out because they are also dependent on you. So diversity is one indicator and one criteria that we also try to build and we also try to assess. The second is, the larger term is knowledge, but it's not just knowledge. It's got 2 or 3 components. One is, do I have climate smart knowledge? Am I able to come to terms with what is happening in Delhi and why this heat wave is happening? Do I have the knowledge to do it? And then second part is, do I have, based on my existing knowledge, can I deal with it? Can that happen? Or if not, then the third part of knowledge is, do I have access to information where I can get this knowledge? So if these 3 things are happening, I would say the knowledge base and the resilience base of the community is getting built in. And the third and more important is, am I prepared to do something? Which I would call it as culture of preparedness. So is the community prepared to take action to be able to overcome this shock, or be able to that? And how do they do that is your ability to, which is called nowadays the bouncing back ability. That comes into play. So once you have these 3 interplays, and these are not mutually, these all 3 have to be there, and then we say, yes, the community's resilience is being built in, it's being strengthened, or which of the components needs to be focused more on. Yeah. So that is something I think more in context of climate shock, because I would say Delhi has knowledge. Delhi has the current heat wave. We have the knowledge, we have diversity, but we are not prepared. We need to have that preparedness before an action can be taken. Thanks.
So I will jump couple of, because I understand there is a commonality when I talk, when I hear from Amoji, Reena ji, and maybe Ramesh, the entire graduation approach or the approach of IPU Global. Somewhere, Reena ji, my entire thought is kind of looking at कि जब मैं पहली बार जाके मुजफ्फरनगर में उतरा तो it was a scenario जहाँ बाढ़ आई थी, है ना, बाढ़ आके पूरे पानी से भरा हुआ था दोनों तरफ, एंड वी जस्ट लैंडेड. ऐसा नहीं था कि 20 साल काम कर चुके थे तब तक, लेकिन इट वाज सच ए सरियल फीलिंग कि किस जगह आके अब काम करना पड़ेगा. करना तो स्टडी था, इट वाज अ स्ट्रैटेजी से स्टडी से स्ट्रैटेजी पे आ रहा था, लेकिन वो जो मंजर था कि उतरे वहां पे और एक पतली सी सड़क के दोनों तरफ जो है बसावट है, बसावट पूरी पानी में भरी हुई है, उसी में जो है जनता, उन्हीं के संग आपने वहां काम किया. सो दैट्स द लेवल ऑफ विजुअलाइजेशन जो मैं उसको ग्लोरीफाई नहीं कर रहा हूँ काइंडली, मैं बस आपके समक्ष ये रख रहा हूँ कि 20 साल के काम करने के बाद जब उतरे वहां पे तो लगा कि ऐसी भी जगह में काम करना पड़ेगा, यही जगह पे काम करना है. सो समवेयर व्हेन यू गाइज ऑलरेडी, आपने जब बताया कि जगह की एक पहचान, और उस जगह में वो मूसाहार कम्युनिटी जो ऑलरेडी सोशली ऑस्ट्रकाइज्ड है बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ द नेम. मतलब ये अजीब सा लगेगा, आप में से बहुत लोग जानते भी होंगे बिहार का वो पोर्शन जहां मूसाहार कम्युनिटी के नाम से आना था, वो अब जनता बातें नहीं करती है, प्रशासन वाले बातें नहीं करते हैं. वो एक ऑलरेडी दिमाग में फ्रेमवर्क, जो आपने कहा ना कि नोइंगली अननोइंगली हमारे अपनी जो बायसेस है वो है, तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में मैं तो वहीं का हूँ, वहीं की समझदारी ली, काफी समय बिताया. तो अब जब आप बता रहे हैं कि ये सब चीज हुई है वहां पे और हीफर ने बहुत जबरदस्त वहां पे एंगेजमेंट किया, तो ये जो प्रोसेस में हम जब इनोवेशन की बात, ऐसा क्या नवाचार, ऐसा क्या नया, या ऐसा क्या आपने प्रोसेस में और प्रैक्टिसेस में लाया जो कि वहां की कम्युनिटी भी आपके साथ में जो है मिल के इस काम को कर पाई? मुझे इस पे आपकी टिप्पणी और आपका एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए.
तो जब हम, जैसे आपने बोला, जब हम उधर बिहार में इन इलाकों में गए तो हमने वहाँ पे जाके देखा कि ये सारे के सारे जो प्रोजेक्ट पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे, इनके पास ज़मीन भी नहीं थी. तो फार्मिंग तो ये क्या ही करते, इनके पास रहने की मतलब अपना कोई लैंड भी नहीं था. तो तब ये इंटरवेंशन इस तरीके से डिज़ाइन किया कि इसमें एग्रीकल्चर को तो देखेंगे बाद में, बट इनके पास बकरियां थी. तो वो उनसे जब कम्युनिटी के साथ बैठ के बात करी तो उन्होंने उनसे ये पता चला कि अगर हम उनको इसके बारे में बताएं कि ये बकरी पालन और इसको कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं, उसको किस तरीके से बढ़ाएं, दे वर मोर इंटरेस्टेड एंड दे वाज एन इंटरेस्ट. सो व्हाट वी स्टार्टेड डूइंग फर्स्ट इन द फर्स्ट 2-3 years of our intervention there, we have worked on the goat value chain. And when we are looking at goat value chain, we have looked at the complete value chain. So we design our programs where we design our value chain in value chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4. चेन 1 जो हमारा होता है उसके अंदर हम पहले देखते हैं कि उस गांव में और उस जगह में जो लोग हैं वो कहाँ पर क्या है, एंड देन वी स्टार्ट आइडेंटिफाइंग. और वो सुबह के पैनल ने भी किसी एक बोला था या अभी आपने बोला है कि एक हम आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं थोड़ा सा बात करके कि जो पर्सन जो आगे अपने काम को बढ़ाना चाहता है, सो एक वो प्रोसेस से आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं. तो हमने उन लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई करा और हमने एक कार्डर डेवलप करना शुरू करा जिनको हम बोलते हैं कम्युनिटी एग्रोवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स. तो ये सिर्फ अपने वहाँ पे जो लोग हैं इनको हम पैरावेट की एक ट्रेनिंग वो पूरा उस तरीके से देते हैं जिसमें ये लोग जाके अपने गांव के इलाके हम इनके साथ बैठ के मार्क करते हैं, एंड दे गो एंड प्रोवाइड दीज सर्विसेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ डीवर्मिंग, in terms of vaccination, in terms of basic disease management, and they earn a income. Then what we started doing is there were stories and there are case stories of people. अगर आप उनसे आके मिले, मेरे को अभी भी एक याद आता है, there is this लड़की, उसका नाम प्रीति है, and वो अभी भी जब कहानी बोलती है तो मेरे को ऐसा लगता है वो कहती थी जब उसका जन्म हुआ तो उसके फादर like literally felt like really bad, like it happens, you know, it's a girl. एंड ही सेज आज मेरे पापा पहले मेरे को जाके इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं, बिकॉज आज प्रीति उस कम्युनिटी एग्रोवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर से बढ़ के इस प्रोग्राम में हमने ये भी डिज़ाइन किया कि कौन गोट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बनेंगे. सो शी नाउ हैज़ हर ओन फार्म where she has more than 50 such goats which she has reared, and then they are giving it forward. और जैसे आप सबको पता होगा कि इन सब इलाकों में गोट को, बकरी को वो ATM की तरह यूज़ करते हैं, एनी टाइम मनी जब भी उनको चाहिए दे डू दिस. एक ये हमारा प्रोग्राम है. दूसरा एक जो हम करते हैं, हम बैकयार्ड पोल्ट्री के ऊपर वर्क करते हैं. हमने कैस्ला मॉडल के बारे में तो सुना है, वो तो प्रधान ने ब्रेक कर लिया, बट विच रिक्वायर्स 500, 600, 1000 से ऊपर आपको मतलब वो मुर्गी रखनी होती है, विच इज़ ब्रॉयलर. बट हम जिस कम्युनिटी के साथ काम करते हैं ना तो उनके पास इतनी जगह होती है ना, तो हमने बैकयार्ड पोल्ट्री का एक प्रोग्राम है जिसको हम बोलते हैं हैचिंग होप प्रोग्राम, जिसमें हम उनके साथ ये डेवलप कर रहे हैं कि 60 मुर्गी रख के उसको कैसे कमर्शियली वायबल करना है. सो दैट इज़ द वर्क ऑल्सो दैट वी आर डूइंग. एंड इसके साथ हम सिर्फ यही नहीं करते हैं, बट इसके अंदर जब हम प्रोग्राम डिज़ाइन करते हैं तो हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि जब हम इन इलाकों में, जैसे उड़ीसा में हम ये बैकयार्ड पोल्ट्री के ऊपर काम करते हैं, तो इसके बारे में थोड़ी जानकारी भी बढ़नी चाहिए. तो हम किस तरीके से करते हैं, तो हमने एक डिफरेंट चीज़ करी. आप सबने नीलेश मिश्रा जी को तो सुना होगा, जो कहानी है, तो हमने उनके साथ एक प्रोग्राम करा जिसमें आके वो अंडे की कहानी सुनाते थे. सो वो अंडे की कहानी से व्हाट हैपेंड इज पीपल स्टार्टेड, जो स्मॉल होल्डर फार्मर्स थे उनको उसके बारे में पता चला, एंड देन वी ऑल्सो हैड अ नंबर कि जो ये काम करना चाहता है हमारे को बताइए. तो वी स्टार्टेड गेटिंग कॉल्स अबाउट, एंड देन वी स्टार्टेड अप्रोचिंग देम, और उनको हमने इंट्रोड्यूस करना शुरू करा. उसके अलावा तीसरी चीज़, मैं लास्ट चीज़ एक और बोलना चाहूँगी कि हमारा जब हम ये कोई भी प्रोग्राम करते हैं तो उसमें मॉनिटरिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. और इकोसीएट के साथ इनफैक्ट मिलके, और जैसे मैंने आपको करा कि अब एक पर्सनल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन इंडेक्स ये लोग बना रहे हैं हमारे साथ और यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ आर्कनसास के साथ मिलके, जिसमें हम ये आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं कि क्या चीज़ें चाहिए जिससे पता चल जाए कि a person, there is a social transformation that has happened, and we have been able to decode it, and very soon we will be sharing that also with everybody. 2 चीज़ें और हमारे हैं जो हम मॉनिटरिंग के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं. उसमें एक हमारा होता है एंटरप्राइज ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मॉडल और एक होता है हाउस होल्ड ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मॉडल. एंटरप्राइज ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मॉडल में जब हम किसी भी FPO के साथ काम करते हैं, शुरू करते हैं काम करना, तो हम देखते हैं कि वो किस लेवल पर है और उसको हम रेगुलरली मॉनिटर करते हैं उन कुछ पैरामीटर्स पे, और एक बहुत सरल तरीके से हम अपने जो प्रोजेक्ट पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उनको बताते हैं. और मैं एक लास्ट एग्जांपल बस कोस्ट करके आपको आई हैंड ओवर द माइक. पिछले साल हमारी ग्लोबल CEO आई थी हमारे इंडिया प्रोग्राम में, एंड वी वर मीटिंग वन ऑफ दीज प्रोजेक्ट पार्टिसिपेंट्स इन बिहार, जहाँ पे ये बोल रहे हैं. और मुझे अभी भी वो याद है, हम एक प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी में बैठे हुए थे एंड वी वर इंट्रोड्यूसिंग, जैसे होता है कि आप सब अपना इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, तो हमारी जो ग्लोबल सीईओ थी सुरीता, उन्होंने अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस किया एंड आई वाज वेरी हैप्पी व्हेन द सीईओ ऑफ द एफपीओ, यू नो हाउ शी इंट्रोड्यूस हरसेल्फ, शी सेज आप भी सीईओ हैं, मैं भी एक सीईओ हूँ, आप सीईओ पैसा है पर मेरे पास एक विजन है, एंड ही सेज पर हम दोनों जो सीईओ हैं हमारे पास विजन है. So I felt really happy that this is the social transformation, this is the inclusion, you know, that happens. So with that, I'll just hand it to you.
I think Reena ji, thank you so much. It was very nuanced and straight from the heart. एक और चीज इसमें है कि जो एग्रोवेट वाली बात आपने करी, इसमें हम में से बहुत लोग सोचेंगे इसमें नया क्या है. तो आप ये जो SRLM NRLM के पूरे हाउस को जानते हैं, हमको लगता है वहां पे ये सर्विस एरिया ही नहीं था उस वक्त. तो कहीं ना कहीं इसकी अहमियत वहां से निकल के आती है कि जो एंटरप्राइज शुरू करवानी है, जिस लाइवलीहुड में लोगों को शुमार करना है, जो सपोर्ट सर्विसेज चाहिए, ना तो प्रशासन पहुंच रहा है और न ही फ्लैगशिप प्रोग्राम के लोग पहुंच रहे हैं. तो यहाँ पे इसकी अहमियत आप लगा सकते हैं कि ये प्रैक्टिस जब या फिर इस तरह के काटा जब गया तो बकरियों का और मुर्गियों का अच्छा हाल होना ही था. तो धन्यवाद आपका. तो आई विल गो टू रमेश यू, देन वी विल कम बैक टू दीपक जी एंड सुप्रीत. The idea is simple. We have understood graduation model from your perspective. The idea is what you see briefly are activities which you can term as innovative activities. Particularly design part आपने बता दिया. So if you can help us educate and understand कि practices or interventions ऐसे क्या रहे, which basically would have led to a greater adoption of what you are suggesting to community, and what is the process you took that. Yeah.
आई थिंक सो उसी को दिस वन आई विल गो थ्रू द कम्युनिटी पर्सपेक्टिव, लाइक कम्युनिटी कैसे सोचता है, बिकॉज दिस इज ऑल दिस जो भी इंटरवेंशंस है आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इट फ्रॉम द कम्युनिटी पर्सपेक्टिव. मैं रिसेंटली लास्ट वीक में तेलंगाना में था. एक देयर इज दिस मंडलकल अमराबाद माचारम विलेज में इस चेंचू कम्युनिटीज़ के साथ हम बात कर रहे थे. वी आस्क्ड दिस क्वेश्चन सेइंग दैट कि आपको डिफाइन करना है अल्ट्रा पुअर क्या है, एक्सट्रीम पुअर क्या है. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट वो बोले कि सर आप जो भी बात करें ना, अब कहाँ बात करें, यू आर टॉकिंग इन ए कम्युनिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन और SHG और VO में, एंड दिस VOs आर नॉट मेंट फॉर एक्सट्रीम पुअर. आप जो भी इंस्टीट्यूशंस में बात कर रहे हैं, दिस इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर मेंट फॉर पुअर के लिए है, एक्सट्रीम पुअर के लिए नहीं है. देन आप एक इफ़ यू आर आस्किंग मी, मैं मेरा परसेप्शन बोल सकता हूँ, बट आप लोग उसके तक जाना है तो यू नीड टू हैव ए प्रोग्राम दैट इज मेंट फॉर देम. उसी के थ्रू होता है. आपको मुश्किल आइडेंटिफाई करने में मैं आपको हेल्प कर सकता हूँ, आई एम द मीन्स टू रिच टू देम, बट आप जो प्रोग्राम डिजाइन करेंगे उसके लिए डिजाइन करना पड़ेगा, इंस्टीट्यूशंस के साथ डिजाइन नहीं कर पाएंगे. आई थिंक दिस इज ए लेयर दैट आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इट अप, बिकॉज वे हम लोग इस द फर्स्ट इंटरवेंशन हम जो कर रहे हैं, जो भी आइडेंटिफिकेशन द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट होता है टारगेटिंग और आइडेंटिफिकेशन में, इसमें हम कम्युनिटी को शामिल करना चाहते हैं. विल स्टार्ट विद देम सेइंग दैट आपके हिसाब से whom do you think are the people who are excluded or extreme poor कौन है. सो वहाँ से the first step is identifying the criteria for selection of extreme poor starts from that point. And the second one is the main identification itself, where all the committee institutions have been involved, and they will take to the households and they will see these households have been excluded, and then they will select. I think that's the first layer of intervention where we thought how we include community institutions to in this process. I think the second one मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो भी community perspective में बोलूँगा. Recently we are working with government of Bihar. Government बिहार का एक urban graduation program है. उस प्रोग्राम बिकॉज इससे गवर्नमेंट प्रोग्राम हम लोग उन लोगों को सपोर्ट करना है कि इस प्रोग्राम को कैसे डिजाइन करना है. इवन आप लोग जब ग्रेजुएशन प्रोग्राम सुने थे ना, इसमें बेसिक सर्विसेज लाइवलीहुड सब पार्ट है, बट हम लोग एक कमिटी मेंबर के पास जाके पूछा है कि आपको क्या इंटरेस्ट, लाइक इवन एज ए फैसिलिटेशन ऑल्सो हम पूछते हैं कि आपको अभी क्या काम कर रहे हैं, क्या हम करवाना चाहते हैं. उसका पहला सवाल ये था कि सर हमारा घर पे अभी पानी नहीं है, एंड इवन टू टेक बाथ, मैं एक टेम्पल है, टेम्पल के अंदर जाके 7 दिन में एक बार नहाता, बिकॉज क्योंकि ये डर है कि लोग देख लेंगे. दिस इज ए फैक्टर ऑफ डिग्निटी. वो मुझे पानी नहीं है, मेरे पास नहाने के लिए भी आई हैव टू गो टू ए टेम्पल. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली अभी जिस घर पे मैं रुक रहा हूँ वो घर पता नहीं कि कब तक होंगे, कल जैसी भी आएगा हमको मूव करने के लिए बोलेंगे. ये मेरा बेसिक नेसेसिटीज है इवन फॉर ए डिग्निफाइड लाइफ. आप इसको सॉल्व करने के बिना आप लाइवलीहुड के बारे में बात किया तो वो हंसने की बात है. लाइक इट्स लाइक वी कुड से, आई थिंक दिस इज व्हाट लिटरली इन अर्बन प्रोग्राम में हम ये रियलाइज किया कि इवन आप लाइवलीहुड्स के बारे में सोचने के पहले वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वी नीड टू प्रोवाइड द बेसिक सर्विसेज, देन वी हैव टू गो अबाउट थिंकिंग अबाउट द लाइवलीहुड्स. आई थिंक This is the second layer that we thought, okay, if you are thinking about a urban graduation program, then we have to put this as a first priority until unless you solve this either through government or through convergence. आप livelihoods के बारे में सोचने से, even if you go ahead with your program, it may not be as effective as हम सोचेंगे, because ये उसका basic vulnerability और basic need है अभी, तो उसके बिना हम जा नहीं सकते. So and maybe third वाला आपको जो point बोले थे climate adaptation के ऊपर, उसके ऊपर भी there is one innovation that we are thinking around. I want to explain because climate adaptation ना इसमें मेरा two perspectives है, दोनों in the program interventions में आया था. एक बार मैं government official से मिल रहा था, जैसे जो ये प्रोग्राम के बारे में जो कि हम लोग की क्लाइमेट अडेप्टेशन को मैं इस प्रोग्राम में पार्ट बनाना चाहते हैं. वो लोग का फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज दैट कि क्लाइमेट इज नॉट फॉर पुअर. क्लाइमेट का जो चेंज का डिस्कशन है ऊपर है, फॉर रिच पीपल है, इट्स नॉट फॉर द पुअर. दिस इज द पर्सपेक्टिव फ्रॉम ए लाइक समवन हुम वी आर वर्किंग एज अ प्रोग्राम. बट सेम में जब मैं कम्युनिटी के पास रिसेंटली एक विजिट पे हमारा एक मेंबर के पास जाके बात करे तो से सेड मेरा एक्चुअली शी इज डूइंग द फिश वेंडिंग का बिजनेस है. फिश वेंडिंग में आई वाज एबल टू सेल 600 रुपीज एवरी डे. सो 600 का एन एवरेज रेवेन्यू उसका होता है. बिकॉज इस एक्सट्रीम हीट में हम है, शी वॉज नॉट इवन एबल टू सेल 400 रुपीज. इवन जो एक्चुअल रेवेन्यू जो होने वाला है उसी में देर इज लाइक ऑलमोस्ट 1/3 लॉस हो गया. फर्स्ट पॉइंट. सेकेंड, हमको ये सोचना है कि बिकॉज ऑफ द हीट शी हैज टू बाई मोर आइस. उसका मतलब है कि शी हैज स्पेंडिंग मोर एक्सपेंडिचर. सो इवन 100 रुपीज वो एक्सपेंड किया तभी इसका 50% रेवेन्यू और एक्सपेंडिचर खत्म हो गया. फर्स्ट. एंड देन वो इकोनॉमिक टर्म्स में. दूसरा, हमको ये समझना चाहिए कि बिकॉज द हीट की वजह से शी वॉज नॉट एबल टू स्लीपिंग वेल इन द नाइट्स. रात में शी वॉज नॉट इवन एबल टू स्लीप वेल. व्हेन शी वॉज नॉट एबल टू स्लीप वेल, हाउ कैन वी एक्सपेक्ट हर टू गो ऑन इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी कर लेंगे बोल के. सो दैट वी, because all these nuances are very much essential for us to understand, even to think about designing a program for them. I think the first step on climate adaptation, we are thinking that let's go and see what are the kind of economic one and even the housing में क्या problem है. Then for this one, we are actually partnering with an organization called, we in the sense, government of Bihar is partnering with an organization called Mahila Housing Trust. They are helping them, one on the housing solutions, what can be the low cost housing solutions they could be provided to mitigate some of these extreme heat effects on the households, even on the home-based businesses. And most importantly, every livelihood option that we would be, even if they want to take up, would these livelihood options are climate adaptive proof. Like उसकी वजह से future में even एक climate की वजह से if their incomes are affecting, are we in a position to provide an alternative livelihoods or some kind of insurance? If not, then even whatever we do, I don't think that would be helpful for them even to move from that extreme poverty to poor that we are talking. I think these are the 2 or 3 examples I want to give just to explain the nuances we need to understand even while designing this program. So I think I will stop it here.
No, very helpful. Thank you, Ramesh. I think this brings a lot of context, and what you said is absolutely fantastic. I think with these three panelists ना आपको ये समझ में आ गया होगा कि एग्रीकल्चर शायद बहुत बड़ा मेन स्टर्न हो जिस कम्युनिटी के संग आप काम कर रहे हो, राइट. मे बी देर आर सर्टन थिंग्स जो स्किलिंग में जाएंगी, जो अदर एस्पेक्ट्स है, ये ऑफ फॉर्म नॉन फॉर्म एक्टिविटीज में जाना पड़ेगा. तो दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ कॉम्बिनेशन विच दीज programs and initiatives will have to take up. Now we come to a very specific and very niche area जहाँ सुप्रीत जी काम कर रहे हैं कि आप अगर फूड सिस्टम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात कर रही हैं तो ये कहीं ना कहीं एग्रीकल्चर से पूरा जुड़ा हुआ है. वो कम्युनिटी जिसके संग काम कर रही है उसकी चैलेंजेस आपको पता है. तो माई सेम रिटरेशन वॉज की जो प्रोसेस पार्ट में है कैसे आप उस चीज को डिजाइन में लेके आती हैं, प्रैक्टिसेस और इंटरवेंशंस जो कि उस कम्युनिटी के लिए उसको कैसे तैयार करते हैं, कैसे उसको अडॉप्शन की तरफ लेके जाते हैं, एंड देन हाउ डू यू मेजर और इफ इट ऑल यू मेजर एंड देन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ करेक्टिव एक्शंस यू टेक. इस पे ही आप क्या चाहिए.
So I think very new approach which we applied for our workforce nutrition program, where we work very closely with tea estate workers of Assam. So when we initiated our work, it was really a very saddening state what we saw, because tea estates are really located in the deepest part of the districts, and they are hardly kilometers. There is no road, no connectivity. How people do not have access to even basic necessities there. So when we initiated our work, we saw that my colleague Aishwarya is also here. She's leading the work in that. What we saw that people at that place, especially females and the tea estate workers, are only eating chapati and black tea, not even milk in that tea. They just dip their chapati in that tea and eat. This is all what they have an access to. So what we understood that when we talk to them and see that although the purchasing capacity is not that much, but it is up to the level at least they can afford a decent meal for themselves. So what we say that, I mean, if we increase the awareness of those people, still the food is not available to them at their doorstep. So what innovation we did is that we built the complete supply chain over there, right from retailers or the wholesalers at the main district. We asked them to sell the goods to already existing, we call them the shops at the tea estates, which are linear in fashion. So we asked the retailers to give the healthy or nutritious diets or foods available at that point to the market line shops, and see if the people can purchase it. And on the similar lines, we increase the awareness of those people, yes, that you have to eat these things, even milk, green leafy vegetable, fruits, fortified food products, all were made available. And after as the program progresses, now we are so happy to see that initially if we see the dietary diversity score is in the range of 3 to 4, now it has improved to more than 4 or 5 now. They are including more food groups into their diets. Even it's a win-win situation for the person who is selling that. The sales have increased almost 5 times for that person, so he is earning money and people are getting nutritious food. So it is like, and retailers are also happy because their goods are being sold at at the distant places of the Assam tea state. Similar model now we are initiating in down south. There the geography is little different, so we are taking, no silver bullet serves purpose for all the things. So different geographies, different innovations, and things we are approaching. So this is very classic example, and we got really satisfied with the type of outcome we are seeing. If you see the environmental impact of it, we see that they are consuming what is locally grown there. So whatever is grown is being sold and consumed. So carbon footprinting and the impact in terms of transportation and getting in what is imported food, so called, is not encouraged in those healthy line shops. So this is the way I think all the aspects of food systems are being taken care. The consumer choices, the affordability, climate, and all those things are being taken care, and it is increasing the customer satisfaction and individual behavior through awareness generation activities, provides us the wholesome approach of food system transformation. So I have couple of more, but I think there is some issue of time.
If you wish to continue, no worries. Time will
just,
not. We will be eating into our own lunch time, so don't worry about it. वो
Just
हमारे हाथ में
30 seconds more. Another program is we have just initiated our program in the state of Bihar, which is on social protection. We work closely with the women-led self-help groups. There, what I mean, we encourage women and building their capacities to work in the factories who are producing fortified take-home rations. So again, there the dual approach is being promoted, because initially what we saw, the women, if they are not working, the men who is the earning member is spending the money in cigarettes and BDs and pan masala gutkas etc, and they are requesting ki aap ye sab mat khao, at least get milk for the child, because they do not have any financial independence or empowerment at house. They cannot ask for the male member to get nutritious food for their family. So now we catch hold of those women and build their capacity to work in the factories to produce take home rations which are fortified. Now they have financial empowerment. They have a say in the household, that no, if I am earning, I know what to cook for my child, what has to be served as a family meal has to be my decision. And in addition to that, if the fortified take home ration is being produced, the last mile person who is getting that ration is getting micronutrient supplements also in that ration. So this is again a win-win situation for both the cases. So that also gives us a lot of encouragement to continue our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So very well said. So obviously last will come to Deepak ji. So you have all the floor, but somewhere it is also clear that when we see from all these perspectives, the project and the perspective which you bring, Deepak ji, is largely around the production systems, which is equally, if not more important. So therefore, to kind of look at a landscape approach following agroecological principles to ensure certain other things which will actually help in better adoption of what you are and community are co-creating. I think that perspective is what we would love to hear from you. जहाँ पे आप जो बताएं, that will be very helpful to know.
Thank you, Ashwini ji. Before I come to my perspective about this project, I'd like to thank you फॉर इंक्लूडिंग हिंदी। आपने जिस तरीके का हिंदी का उपयोग करते हैं इस टाइप के वर्कशॉप में, काबिल तारीफ है, क्योंकि हिंदी कहीं ना कहीं ये एक्सक्लूड होती जा रही है। तो और खास करके इनोवेशन के नवाचार का यूज़ करना मेरे लिए भी एक अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है कि इतने अच्छे संस्कृत निष्ठ आप शब्दों का प्रयोग करते हैं।
मेरे पास वो ग्लिब है कि मैं बहुत सारी भाषा बोल सकता हूँ, पर यहाँ पे साउथ डाउन साउथ के भी बहुत लोग हैं। बट धन्यवाद, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जिस भाषा में मैं कंफर्टेबल हूँ उसमें बात करूँ।
नहीं, ये बहुत अच्छी बात है। तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि क्या क्या नवाचार है, इनोवेशन है इस पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट में। तो एक तो ये है कि हम बड़े वर्ड सुनते हैं, एग्रो इकोलॉजी, लैंडस्केप बेस्ड प्लानिंग, एग्रो इकोलॉजी, फूड सिस्टम्स, बट हाउ दे कैन बी बेसिकली इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन फील्ड। बोलने के लिए अच्छा है, डिस्कशन में अच्छा है, थ्योरेटिकल डिबेट्स के लिए अच्छा है, बट कैसे कर सकते हैं। तो हमारे जो इस प्रोजेक्ट में बेसिकली हाउ वी आर स्ट्रेंथनिंग द लैंडस्केप बेस्ड प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम। सो हाउ वी आर डूइंग इट, सो बेसिकली वी आर यूजिंग GIS बेस्ड प्लानिंग to for boundary mapping of basically watershed and TDF project. After that, we are saying that even the watershed basically landscape is also not a homogeneous unit. It can be further divided into various clusters based on soil types, based on cropping system, based on community. विद इन अगर 4-5 विलेजेस को लेकर के एक वाटरशेड बनता है, तो उसको भी क्लस्टर वाइज हम माने डिवाइड कर रहे हैं बेस्ड ऑन दीज क्राइटेरिया दैट आई हैव मेंशन्ड। इसके बाद में जो होता है PRA एक्सरसाइज और एक फसल चक्र एक्सरसाइज, इस तरीके के एक्सरसाइज होता है क्रॉपिंग सिस्टम को समझने में, गैप समझने में, and based on these exercises, whatever gaps we identify, so crop planning is done. What kind of crops needs to be basically grown, what kind of basically activities can be initiated. So ये एक होता है। तो एक पूरा जो लैंडस्केप के लिए जो प्रोडक्शन प्लानिंग बनाना है, इसके लिए एक्टिविटीज ये निर्धारित होती हैं। सेकंड इज बेसिकली हियर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ टू इंटीग्रेट नेचुरल फार्मिंग और एग्रो इकोलॉजी बेस्ड फार्मिंग सिस्टम इन वाटरशेड। So for that, it is very important to capacitate farmers, and how farmers can be capacitated, because it is about changing the behavior of farmers. So it is not very easy. It is not just simply giving training to farmers. Here our approach is developing internal farmer system, resource person within the landscape. तो जो अगर एक वाटरशेड में अगर 4-5 क्लस्टर्स हैं, तो उसमें 1 या 2 इंटरनल फार्मर रिसोर्स पर्सन को तैयार करना है। तो करीबन एक प्रोजेक्ट में 8 से 10 इंटरनल फार्मर रिसोर्स पर्सन तैयार किए जाते हैं। वो कैसे तैयार किए जाते हैं उसका भी एक ही है, क्योंकि अगर नेचुरल फार्मिंग की बात करें तो ये इट्स अ इमर्जिंग कॉन्सेप्ट, ये भी कोई बहुत ज़्यादा डेवलप नहीं है। तो इसमें जहाँ पर भी अच्छा काम हुआ है, जैसे आंध्र प्रदेश में APCNF आंध्र प्रदेश कम्युनिटी मैनेज जो नेचुरल फार्मिंग सिस्टम है, वहाँ पर काफ़ी अच्छा काम हुआ है। तो वहाँ पर वो फार्मर साइंटिस्ट, राजीव जी सुबह बता रहे थे कि वहाँ पर ये लोग फार्मर साइंटिस्ट तैयार कर रहे हैं, फार्मर्स हु हैव basically have been trained in natural farming, who have demonstrated natural farming over 6-7 years. So what we are doing is we are basically taking help of these farmers. We have deployed around 30 to 35 farmers in 24 locations, these external farmer resource person who are training these internal farmer resource person who are basically local farmers. So the idea is that we are developing a pool of internal farmer resource person within the landscape so that they can further basically demonstrate and train local farmers. The second approach is basically with regards to capacity building at various level. So first is farmer level, which is being done through internal farmer resource person. Internal farmer resource person is basically trained by external farmer resource person. Then there is project implementing agency which is implementing this project. So they are trained by resource support agency or experts on this field. Then comes NABARD, because NABARD is basically planning and monitoring the projects. So for their training also, resource support agencies and experts are basically providing support. So that means that the multi-level training strategies and capacity building strategies is being followed. And the another innovation is basically, it is not only about basically training farmer, but we need to develop enabling environment. Morning we are hearing about how to develop ecosystem or enabling environment. So enabling environment means developing support system in terms of maybe seed enterprises, in terms of developing enterprises around custom hiring centers, maybe enterprises around bio input center or bio resource center who can provide bio inoculums to the farmers. So, likewise, various kinds of local enterprises who can support natural farming within the geography. So that's why we are basically following landscape based on various methods. You also mentioned in initial remark that how you can monitor, what would be the monitoring mechanism. So for all these projects, there are output indicator and outcome indicator, because this project is for 5 years. So outcome indicators are also there, and the monitoring is done by, we have developed one monitoring, evaluation and learning portal. That portal is there, as well as mobile application is there. So field data is being captured through field staff from this mobile application, and real time monitoring or real time basically analysis can be done through dashboard. So this is the basically process that we are following up.
This is very comprehensive. I think in our conversation, Deepak ji, you also mentioned about the fact कि ये सारी planning तो होती है, पर इसका जब आप जब इसको उतारते हो तो there is a financial there is an investment which has to be brought in. Component तो डिजाइन हो जाते हैं, पर वो component डिजाइन होके इम्पैक्ट स्टोरी तक जाने के लिए देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ कैपिटल. तो उस पे आप बताइए जरा सा कि हाउ दिस हैज बीन.
ये बहुत अच्छा आपने पॉइंट किया है, क्योंकि हमेशा जो कैपिटल है ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है. और इसमें जीवा में क्या है कि नाबार्ड मेन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसी है, जीआईजेड उनको सपोर्ट कर रहा है. तो जीवा की स्कीम के लिए नाबार्ड ने बेसिकली जो फाइनेंस है वो प्रोवाइड करते हैं प्रोजेक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसीज को, जो वाटरशेड इम्प्लीमेंट करती हैं. तो करीबन जो 24 प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, नाबार्ड उनके लिए फंड एलोकेट करता है. आई थिंक 9 कंपोनेंट के लिए अराउंड 1.2 करोड़ है डिफरेंट डिवाइडेड, और ईयर वाइज अराउंड 30 लाख का जैसे फंड वो होता है. बट यहाँ पर ये ग्रांट के रूप में ट्रीट नहीं होता है, यहाँ पर ये मॉडल डेवलप करने के लिए होता है कि भाई मॉडल्स डेवलप हो, चाहे सीड सिस्टम के हो, चाहे आपका कस्टम हायरिंग सेंटर हो, या एफपीओज है, लोकल प्रोड्यूसर ग्रुप्स है, जिससे कि पूरा लैंडस्केप पूरा इनेबल हो जाए, और जो सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी है विद इन द लैंडस्केप ये डेवलप हो. ये पूरा प्रोसेस है.
जितना पैशनेटली आप बोल रहे हैं, मतलब डेफिनेटली इसका पूरा का पूरा सुमार हमको देखने मिलेगा 2-3 साल में. So last word for the panelists. I would request Ramesh, we have only 30 seconds each for each panelist to just share a couple of top of the mind things which you want the audience to take away.
Maybe I'll just say that the target groups normally that we are thinking about for inclusion, so which requires not one, like I think multiple players has to come together. As I said earlier, we are mostly working with governments in designing and implementing this program. Equally, we are also partnering with the institutions who have been working on the livelihoods and poverty elevation programs to help governments to design the good quality programs. I think so that's what we are planning to do. But I only say that when we want to work as the last thing with these communities is we have to understand the nuances of the extreme input, then only we will be able to support. If anyone wanted to work on this particular thing, we are more than happy to collaborate and work in India. Thank you.
I think the takeaway can be that it has to be a wholesome approach, considering all the aspects of food systems and not working in silos. It's high time that our food system should be designed in a way that it should provide healthy, sustainable, nutritious food to last mile people, and nutritious food can be made affordable at the same time. Along with that, I think scalability, if we are doing, we need to consider the environmental factors to the extent that seeing that how climate sensitive the programs are. One needs to see the carbon footprinting. One needs to see how the crops which we are growing are climate smart crops, and it has to be inclusive in all the aspects so that the dent we would like to make should have an impact. Thank you.
So I would like to say that we need a rainbow of coalition, different actors, different stakeholders coming together. And also for this point of scalability, I would really like us to think that this is not about mass production, but but we have to look at production by masses, because that's what the problem we are dealing with.
Regarding the takeaways, based on these experiences, one takeaway will be that robust program design. Program design should be robust, otherwise, implementation becomes very difficult. Second, as mentioned by Ashwini ji, adequate finance to different components. That is also very important. Capacity building at various levels. We should not only focus on farmers, but the entire enabling environment ecosystem basically needs to be supported. So these are few points which I feel the takeaway. Yeah.
Slightly longer, Ashwini. ठीक है. So yeah, 45. I'll say that I'm not focusing on the programming part of it or the design. I'm focusing more on what goes in our mind. You see, all of us has a muscle memory. If I throw a ball at you, you will catch it. You're not saying कि किस speed से फेंका है, इसकी velocity क्या है, इसकी arc है. It's your muscle memory which makes you catch it. Your mind also has a muscle memory of exclusion. We have to be aware of it. The more we are aware of it, the more inclusive we become. But getting down to becoming aware of this mind muscle memory of exclusion, you see, exclusion is a very, I would say, much politically correct word. The actual word is discrimination, but that's what leads to exclusion. So we need to be very much aware of our own mind muscle memory. And once we are aware of it, then what do? I would say stop tweeting. Because tweets, they just acts like a pressure cooker. Hawa nikal gayi, khatam. Think of 7th June 1893. Gandhi was chucked out of the train. He spent the night at Petermarsburg station. He didn't tweet. I was very glad he didn't tweet. Because then he said what needs to be done. Needs to change the system. If we are not, we can say, I can't work on changing the caste system, caste discrimination. You don't have to, but you have to start working somewhere. So I would say stop tweeting, start a movement. That's very important. That image is very important to keep in mind, because that's what's going to help you in your design. Am I doing this? Am I doing this? And lastly, what one poet said कि मेरा मकसद हंगामा खड़ा करना नहीं है, यहाँ तो सूरत बदलनी चाहिए. Let's change the face of it. Let's not create tweets because they just don't work. They just don't work. Thank you.
Amazing. We have a round of applause for the entire panel. I've never been a part of such passionate discourse where a lot of design as well as practical issues have been shared. So I put it open to you. Anybody wishes to have any query or say, please make it brief so that आपको मौका मिल जाए.
Yeah, thanks. Myself is Kamlesh. We just wanted to touch base, like few of the panelists mentioned, how to collaborate it. So we know different organization has different expertise with the limited resources, to make it, I just want to hear some certain examples, how you have collaborated at the grassroots level with the different organizations for the inclusive growth. I just want to hear from the panelists. Thanks.
Specific panelists you want?
Maybe Ramesh, I think, mentioned, and Supreet ji, you also mentioned, any sorts of the example, any example of the collaboration. Yeah, thanks.
Maybe I think I will come back. This is very important thing, even that we realized when we are here, especially when we are thinking about the poverty or extreme poor, because they face different vulnerabilities. Not all the organizations are working on every vulnerability of it, or even I don't think even everyone can become experts in every vulnerability. So that's where we thought let's, even if the government is designing, can we bring consortium of partners to address each and everything? So even in specific to the Bihar example which I given, the urban graduation program, we are currently working with 5 partners, 5 civil society partners along with government. So everyone would be addressing one. I think one I have already mentioned, Mahila Housing Trust working on the climate adaptation bit. Second, we are also working on Aga Khan Foundation to specifically understand what is the kind of a livelihood, if you want to create a livelihood ecosystem for this urban extreme poor, what kind of jobs that we need to keep in mind. So I think because here that is also very important, if for someone new to enter and understand that. If someone is already working them, they understand that key, even just small example that I want to take for the jobs, because most of these persons are currently working wage labors, which means the frequency of incomes coming to their home are either daily, weekly. So in those cases, if you're coming up with a livelihood promotion, they need to keep this in mind. You can't change that frequency of income coming to the home with something which gives an income after 3 months or 6 months. So these kind of nuances, if you want to understand, then we need to understand with the civil societies working on this space and partner with them rather than bringing to the new partners. And third, maybe we are also working with mobile crashes there, because we realize that if you want even think about the livelihoods, we need to have the basic services. In the urban areas, social cohesion is something which is not there as we think about the rural partners. In those cases, we thought when the social cohesion is not there, when these people go for work, there is no one at the home to take care of the children. What is happening because of that? These people are locking their children in the homes and going to work, which means the children are inside the home for 8 to 10 hours doing nothing. They're in home. No one cares about their safety and security. Then we realize that if you want to do, then we need to have a kind of a mobile crashes that could take care of the children when these people can go and do a productive work. I think so. This kind of collaborations has to happen so that then only we could able to actually address all the vulnerabilities of extreme poor to go ahead.
Lovely. I think anybody else? हाँ जी.
Hello, I work with the CSR wing of Vedanta, and we technically operate mostly in mining areas which are very far flung, and also, facilities don't reach there in time. This question is not related directly to all of you, but also related because in the previous session there was a talk about बिचौलिया यहाँ पे भी हुई है उसकी बात कि बिचौलियों को कैसे हटाए. The point is, if we want to be inclusive by also removing people from the livelihood ecosystem, we are being exclusive. कहीं ना कहीं हमको भी बोला जाता है यार आप लोग बिचौलिए हो जो बीच में आके सरकार और हमारे बीच में बैठ गए. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग भी हमने ट्राई की, फॉर एग्जांपल विद द राजस्थान सीड्स कॉर्पोरेशन इन राजस्थान फॉर ग्रोइंग जीरा एंड इसबगोल इन बाड़मेर एंड गुड़ामलानी एरियाज. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज कि वो क्वालिटी इशूज, ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स कम इन. सो हाउ डू वी वर्क विद द मिडलमैन इन बिटवीन टू एंश्योर दैट दे आर पार्ट ऑफ द सिस्टम व्हाइल ऑल्सो coming up with solutions which help farmers in achieving better prices?
बढ़िया, इस पे मैं जरूर जवाब देता, पर आज मेरा दिन नहीं है. आज मैं पैनलिस्ट से ही बोलूंगा. तो अमोद भाई आप इसको ले लीजिए. आई हैव द डिस्क्रिप्शन. बता दीजिए थोड़ा आप, जो कि इंक्लूजन में हम बिचौलियों को जो कह रहे हैं, पहले बड़ा शब्द यूज होता था ना कि एलिमिनेट कर दो. ठीक है, धीरे धीरे वो उसका डिग्री कम हुआ तो बोलते एलिविएट कर दो. फिर बोल रहे हैं कि आप मतलब आप बताओ, आप थोड़ा सा शेयर करो.
No, I would not take a judgment कि उनको eliminate करना है या elevate करना. You see, if there is a middle person, मैं बिचौलिया नहीं कहूँ, but बिचौलिया has got a different connotation. If there is a middle person and that middle person is providing a service, we need to recognize that. Is that service being provided by somebody else or could be provided by somebody else? In fact, what we do is FPOs and all is actually trying to do the same, provide the same service which the erstwhile middlemen were providing. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं हुआ कि सारे middlemen चले गए. There's a need for it. Is that service provision and the charges for it, are they being exploitative? Is what we need to ask, rather than a complete elimination of it. That is the core question. और जो it comes out from the whole entire film industry कि वो जो है middleman है, he's the exploiter. So in our minds, we have also been conditioned, the same muscle memory that I'm talking about. It's our social muscle memory that all middlemen are bad, so let's eliminate them. They're not bad. They provide a very critical service to people. That's my take on it.
नहीं, एब्सोल्युटली. मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि जितने भी हमारे प्रोग्राम्स हैं जहाँ पे हम लिंकेजेस की बात करते हैं, नहीं फॉरवर्ड लिंकेजेस, जितने हमारे प्रोफेशनल से लिंकेजेस किए हैं, उन्होंने किसके संग लिंकेज किया है, तो ये उत्तर आपको दे देगा कि उनको हटाना असंभव है. जो उन्होंने कहा कि अगर सर्विसेज पता है और सर्विसेज का नेचर अगर पता है तो उसको आप किसी ना किसी तरह से अपने मॉडल में ले आते हो. जितने लिंकेज की स्टोरी है, किसी से भी पूछ लीजिए तो वो बताएगा या तो वो बिचौलिए से ही उसको लिंकेज करवाया है या बिचौलिया के बड़े वाले बिचौलिए से करवाया है. चाहे छोटा बिचौलिया होगा चाहे बड़ा बिचौलिया, डायरेक्टली इंडस्ट्री को तो बेचने की औकात बहुत कम लोगों में है. तो उत्तर हमारे पास है.